Welcome back to Red Cedar Radar. I have new guests today. I'll let them introduce themselves. How about you first? Go ahead.
I am Abby Wilson and part of the We Got It podcast, a contributor at Spartans Illustrated, which is crazy, but just happy to be here.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, and I am Jonah, the lesser half of the We Got It podcast. But like Abby said, excited to be a part of the Red Cedar Radar.
Yeah, kind of a crossover episode a little bit. So we are here post game after Michigan State's win over Colgate here at the Breslin Center. First game of the season. Um, let's just start off maybe things that went well. Let's do that overall. I feel like although the Spartans started off shaky and even kind of went into the second half a little bit shaky, they were able to rally, and I felt like then played as a cohesive group after the fact. After Colgate tied it up, and maybe that was a little bit of a wake up call for the Spartans, um, and they were able to play like a much better, well oiled machine. Um, Hopefully, it's just kind of figuring things out, new rotations, new players, um, but something maybe to watch for that slow start kind of trajectory, I guess, that we saw last season, creeping into this season as well, and hoping that maybe that won't carry over with bigger opponents like Arkansas coming up. Anything from you?
Yeah, I think it just makes me think of last season. We had an episode with Will Tiemann of Spartan Media Network early October, and he was just talking about he'd never seen Tom Izzo have such a big rotation heading into a season and not have it narrowed down. And I think it's so easy watching that first half to like let some of that panic set in, but just realizing like we could very well be in that same kind of situation and not necessarily in a negative way of just more like there is a lot of talent on this team and like let's see what these guys have to offer. I think Tom Izzo was pretty clear in his post-game presser that he was very he's much more satisfied, I guess, with the performance of some of his bench players, his newer players, his transfers than a lot of the veterans. And so I don't think it's outside of the realm of possibility to say that like he's still working out that rotation. And a part of me is thinking like, is this going to be another kind of like strength in numbers sort of year, as opposed to maybe previous Izzo teams where you had a 5, 6, 7 man roster and that was about it.
I think what stands out to me about tonight is Michigan State was really able to, while maybe not being up to the level they wanted to, but really able to play with the identity that they like to play for. They out-rebounded Colgate by 22. I think for offense rebounds, it was 19-3. So even not shooting very well, they were still able to come away with a pretty comfortable win just because they were able to dominate on the boards. But then also just vintage Michigan State getting out in the fast breaks. I think that was 20 points for Michigan State to 3 for Colgate. So even though we had maybe some sloppiness, the defense wasn't great at times because they were able to dominate in those ways. This game never really felt like it was in question or it was at risk of being an upset.
To go along with that kind of vintage Izzo teams, they got to the line a ton. They didn't capitalize as much as they should have from the line, but they got there, and I think that's something that will serve them well going forward if they can maybe, up their shooting percentage from the free throw line going forward. And I talked to a couple of the players in the locker room, and Izzo has harped on Cohen specifically from the line, and Cohen just said, I need to get in my head. When I'm at the line, I need to focus. Like, I can do it. I just got to work something out. So obviously they're working on it. We saw Cohen going into the practice gym as we were coming down here, so maybe that means he's putting up some free throws. That's speculation, but that's what I'm going with.
Right there with you.
Let's go player of the game now. There's maybe an easy one to pick right off the bat, Jackson Kohler. He kind of, and you mentioned this too, he kind of put up like a sneaky good performance. But he was steadfast throughout the whole game almost, and that's what led to those numbers for him. I spoke with him in the locker room, and he just talked about making sure that he turned it on for the second half. What did he call himself? A psycho last season? He said something like along those lines in the locker room of like channeling that energy in the second half to kind of build guys up. As a veteran, I think that's something that needs to happen because this is a new makeup with new guys from different places, freshmen and transfers. I think they should rely heavily on guys like Kohler, Cooper, Carr that have been around and know the system and know how to play in the Breslin. So obviously impressed by Kohler's performance. Let's switch.
Yeah, I think for me, I would probably go with Jeremy Fears. Finished with 14 points, 10 assists. He had 5 steals as well, and really just like was the straw that stirred the whole drink all night. And it was very apparent when he was off the court that Michigan State just wasn't able to get as much going offensively. I think Michigan State outscored Colgate by 17 points when he was on the court. So that means that when he was not on the court, they were outscored by Colgate by 6 points. So really a huge difference in this game having Jeremy Fears on the court. Just being able to get open looks for guys, being able to push it on the break. I mean, obviously you see the highlight plays like the alley-oop off the backboard to Cohen Carr, but then just those little things where he's handling the pressure at the top of the key. He's driving into the lane, collapsing defenses, getting open look for guys. I think there's probably not going to be a more important player on this team than Jeremy Fears, just because he does so much. I know Izzo said after the game that basically he's Mateen Cleaves light, that he's not quite there yet, but he has work to do. But as well as he played and as much as Izzo harped on him after the game as well, I think it just shows how high of a potential he has, that even in a game where Izzo doesn't think he plays well, he still is stuffing the stat sheet like that.
I don't know why I keep putting my hand in.
No, you're great. Well, I just want to piggyback off that too, because you left out an important stat about Jeremy Fears Jr., and that's that he had 1 turnover. And if there's one thing that I remember from last season learning with, I don't know if I can say this on here, but the real Shardy Anthony from Twitter is, and I know Tom doesn't put a lot of stock in stat lines, but the assist to turnover ratio is 10-1, and that's massively impactful for, you just think about, they are there, right? Like the statistics of how players perform over the season, and that's a pretty impressive stat from Jeremy. One other thing too that I want to piggyback on, I think it's really easy, like losing players like Akins last season, losing players like, oh my gosh, my brain. Trey Holloman, yes. Richardson, there's so many that my brain's, that like it's so easy. I think to like thrust Jeremy into that limelight of like he's got to be the it man. But I mean, I think Tom really said it well in his post-game press conference that he is like the head of this body, and where the head goes, the body follows. And Jeremy's head didn't seem to be in it from Tom's perspective in the first half, and then in the second half, I mean, I think that's, like you said, just the huge difference of his impact on the court. And I think that's a big way that you see it in like non-traditional stats.
Yeah. One more thing about Jeremy that I was thinking is there were some times in the past couple seasons I felt like maybe he was a little immature out on the court, like he would lose his head a little bit. I haven't seen that. Obviously, we've had 2 exhibition games and 1, real season game. So it's not a lot of sample size to go off. He seems more mature to me. He seems like he has stepped into the leadership role with a level head. And I think that's important. He's still getting on guys, but I think he's doing it in a way that builds them up, maybe rather than breaks them down in those moments. And that's something that I've been impressed. And even in Moneyball, I noticed that from him. And again, people like to say Moneyball doesn't mean anything, but you can kind of get a vibe, and I kind of got a vibe from him that he was like here to be the head, like you said, or like Izzo said. So, yeah, I think all great stuff. Anything else to add about players of the game?
I don't think so.
I think we should touch on the energy guy, Jordan Scott. I think he is a great fit for this team. I talked with him in the locker room too, and he kind of said, like, my shots weren't falling, so I knew I had to do something else. And to have that mentality as a freshman, is he 18 years old? I think he's like 18 years old. Like he's a child. So to have that mentality of like, dang, my shots aren't falling, rather than to hang your head and go to the bench, like, okay, what else can I do? I can dive on the floor. I can grab the ball. I can play ferocious defense. Like, I think that will serve him well going forward this season and as a player forever.
Totally.
Anything? I don't want to make you say something, but
No, I know. I was trying to ask Scott kind of about his own performance and like how he felt kind of coming out here on the court for the first time. And he was so quick to just talk about most important thing is winning. Most important thing is like, what can I do to help contribute to the team? And like you said, Sydney, said, yeah, my shots weren't falling. So the thing I said to myself is, what else can I do? And he had 6 rebounds on the night. He was kind of all over the place. His energy was really apparent. And I think it says something that he was one of the first 2 subs to come to the scorers table tonight in this game. So I think he had like 10 minutes or 12 minutes in the first half, and got a lot of playing time for a true freshman, especially somebody who not a ton of hype, not a ton of like NBA draft experts talking about him heading into this season, but to see Izzo have that kind of trust in him so early, I think just speaks volume to the kind of impact that he can have on this team this year.
Yeah, I think it's so easy to get bogged down like really quickly in the first game. And even just thinking back to like, not that I'm in any way comparing Jace Richardson and Jordan Scott right now, but just thinking about where Jace started last season and then where he ended up. And I'm gonna put away my nihilism for once. I'm gonna be real optimistic here because Spartan fans need something to hold on to right now. And yeah, I think it just instills a lot of hope for this basketball season. I know there was a lot of aspects of the performance that leave a lot to be desired, but it's the first game, and something I think I'm just really excited about is last season, what we started off playing Niagara, and who else, like the Spartans have same tough matchups early in the season, and I think that it's going to put these guys to the test quickly and grow them up quickly. And I'm excited for that.
It's the Tom Izzo way, and I appreciate that. Okay, things that could have gone better. We've kind of touched on briefly on a few things as we've been talking. I do think Kurtang could have maybe had a better night. He came out confident, and we even did we type no, that was about Jordan Scott. I was gonna say I thought we typed the same thing about Kurtang at the beginning of the game, but he came out confident, and I thought he looked pretty good. And he had talked about not getting to play a lot last year. He was ready, like this was his chance. And so when he stepped on the court tonight, I was like, okay, fill your role. This is your chance. And they kind of got lost, and I don't think that the Spartans can afford that to happen. While Trey Fort is still learning the process of being a Spartan. Kurtang has been in the process. He's been here. I feel like maybe he should fill a bigger role right now while Trey Fort is kind of still finding his footing a little bit. So that's an area that I hope improves. And for his sake, too, because he was very excited after that first exhibition game to finally get more playing time and get out there and get a start. So I hope that for his confidence, which will then carry over hopefully into better play, that he can kind of find his footing and keep it for the whole game. Any?
Go for it.
Sure, that's fine.
Yeah, I think I was looking at the box score. You can see plenty of things that didn't go necessarily great. I mean, 3-point shooting and free throw shooting weren't awesome. I think like free throw shooting, it's kind of too early to panic about that first game of the year. Like Izzo talked about at the end of the game that some of the guys who had poor nights had good seasons last year. And kind of the same with the 3-point shooting is I think they got a lot of good looks for the most part. They just weren't falling. So, again, I don't think it's necessarily time to panic about those two areas. The thing that I kind of have a question about with this team is when they get in that half-court offense, and Colgate played some good defense tonight, and there were some moments where they had the ball pretty deep in the shot clock is who's going to be that guy who can make something happen. And early on last year, Michigan State didn't really have that either, and Jace Richardson kind of emerged to be that guy that they could go to and count on to get a bucket in those moments. But I think that's as we kind of head into the stretch of playing Arkansas, Kentucky, Duke, North Carolina in the next month or so, they're going to need somebody to be able to step up, whether that's Jeremy, whether that's Cohen Carr, whether it's one of the newcomers. And it might not even be one guy, but it needs to maybe be at least a committee of who can they go to, who can they trust in those moments. Because if they're not able to get out in their fast break like they like to do, they're going to have to guys they can count on in the half court to be able to get those buckets. Because today, and especially in that first half when Colgate went to that zone, they kind of struggled to kind of find a rhythm, didn't really know what they were doing. We're trying to get kind of looks in the paint. So I think that guy needs to develop for this team to really reach its ceiling.
Yeah, I think mental fortitude is something that we need to be able to see from our veteran players, and I think that was significantly lacking from Carson Cooper and Jackson Kohler tonight. Like you said, even though, Jackson Kohler had the most impressive maybe stat line of the night, I think there's a lot that's in between those lines defensively, how he's setting his team up in that half court offense. Like so much of that space and looks comes from your bigs setting those screens, them moving into position where they're supposed to be, and that opens up opportunities for explosive players like Cohen Carr. I mean, we had a couple of like airballed hook shots that just feels like, man, you're a senior, how do you still not know where the hoop is? So I think a lot of that is less of a skill or talent issue, because we know that those guys can do that, but it's a mental focus, and maybe Jackson isn't in that psycho headspace yet where like that is flowing for him. And I think it's going to come for both those guys. We know that they're capable of doing it. They've shown it in seasons past. They're seniors, they're leaders. I think the more the season goes on, the more they're going to be hopefully like soaking up all these moments, and hopefully that'll translate to that mental kind of locking it in.
That's kind of all that I have planned for our little session here. This is so fun. This is our first time ever doing a crossover episode, and it's in person, which I feel like is hard to do. Sorry, we just hit each other. I know, yeah. I know. Well, thanks so much for listening to Red Cedar Radar. Check out Spartans Illustrated. We got a lot of cool stuff. We're really cool. You should subscribe, support us.
New app,
yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah,
So
the app
nice
is really
to
great.
use.
The chat feature. You can find Red Cedar Radar wherever you listen to podcasts and subscribe on YouTube. You want to give a little spiel about?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, similar to Red Cedar Radar, you can find We Got a Podcast on any platform that you listen to podcasts on. So I know we're asking for a lot of subscriptions and follows tonight, but
I'll send you a list of 7 things you have to subscribe to,
but yeah, I mean, me and Abby just really love being able to make Spartan athletics and Spartan sports accessible for everybody, to make sure that they feel like they got it too. That's really our passion and why we do what we do. So if you haven't checked us out, check us out. We'd love to have you over. But yeah.
Yeah, okay. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you next time. Bye.